The morning sun pierced through the kitchen windows of the modest two-story house in suburban Denver. Jack Whitaker stood at the granite counter, his calloused hands wrapped around a steaming mug of black coffee. At 42, his face showed the weathered determination of someone who'd spent his life building things that lasted. The sounds of his children getting ready for school echoed from upstairs. Max's heavy teenage footsteps and Ellie's lighter, bouncing ones. Jack checked his watch. 7:15 a.m. Right on schedule. As always, he took another sip of coffee, savoring the bitter warmth. The kitchen was his morning sanctuary, the place where he planned his day with the same precision he applied to his construction projects. The Wall Street Journal lay folded beside him, its headlines announcing another tech boom in Denver. Jack had built his career on that boom, managing construction projects for the influx of technology companies flooding the city. "Dad!" Ellie's voice carried down the stairs. "Can you help me with my backpack? The zipper's stuck again." "Coming, sweetheart," Jack called back, setting down his coffee. He climbed the stairs, passing the family photos that lined the wall, memories of happier times when Dana's smile reached her eyes. Their wedding photo caught his attention. Dana in white, her eyes bright with promise, his arm protectively around her waist. 17 years ago, they'd sworn to build a life together. Now those foundations were showing cracks. He couldn't ignore that. In Ellie's room, his 10-year-old daughter struggled with her purple backpack. Her brown hair was pulled in a slightly uneven pigtails, likely Dana's rushed handiwork. Jack knelt beside her, examining the zipper. "Here's the problem," he said, gently working the fabric free. "Just gotta be patient with it, see? Sometimes things get stuck because we try to force them too quickly." Ellie beamed at him. "Thanks, Dad. You always know how to fix everything." If only that were true, Jack thought, but kept his smile steady. "That's what dads are for, kiddo." He helped her organize her books, noting how much care she took with her science notebook. "How's the solar system project coming along?" "Ms. Rodriguez says mine and Sarah's is the best in class." Ellie bounced on her toes. "We're using real distances and everything. Did you know that if the sun was the size of a basketball, Earth would be tiny like a pea?" Jack chuckled, ruffling her hair. "Is that right? Well, sounds like somebody's been paying attention in class." In the hallway, 15-year-old Max trudged past, hood up, eyes glued to his phone. Music leaked from his earbuds, some heavy bass line that made Jack wince internally. "Mom's not driving me to practice today," he mumbled. "Says she has something important to do." Jack's jaw tightened slightly. Third time this week, Dana had backed out of her commitments to the kids. "No problem, bud. I'll pick you up after work." "How's the team looking for Friday's game?" Max shrugged, but Jack caught the slight smile he tried to hide. "Coach says I might start. We're playing Brighton High." "That's great news, son." Jack squeezed his shoulder. "I'll be there, front row." Downstairs, Dana moved through the kitchen like a ghost, her presence barely disturbing the air. She'd been that way for months now, there but not there, going through the motions of making lunches and checking backpacks while her mind seemed to drift somewhere else entirely. Jack watched her from the doorway. Her blonde hair was freshly styled, her makeup more carefully applied than usual. She wore a new blouse he didn't recognize, royal blue, fitted, nothing like her usual comfortable attire. The price tag she'd forgotten to remove peeked out from under her arm. $245. More than she usually spent on clothes for herself. "Big plans today?" he asked casually, reaching past her for his briefcase. Dana startled slightly, as if she'd forgotten he was there. Her hand went to her phone, angling it away from his view. "Just some errands," she said, not meeting his eyes. "Maybe lunch with friends?" Jack nodded, though something in his gut tightened. After 17 years of marriage, he knew when something was off. He'd been trying to ignore it for weeks. Now the way she pulled away from his touch, the increased time she spent on her phone, the vague explanations for where she'd been. "I could come home early," he offered. "Maybe we could have dinner together, just the two of us?" That new Italian place downtown got good reviews. Dana's smile was brittle. "Oh, that's sweet, but I might be busy. You know how Fridays are?" No, he didn't know anymore. Fridays used to be family movie nights, but those had gradually disappeared along with so many other traditions. Like the Sunday morning breakfast she used to make, The way she used to leave little notes in his lunch, the casual touches as they passed each other in the hallway. "Dad!" Ellie called from the front door. "We're gonna be late." Jack grabbed his keys, giving Dana a quick peck on the cheek. She turned her head slightly, making it land closer to her ear. Another small crack in the foundation of their life. The drive to school was filled with Ellie's chatter about her upcoming science project and Max's occasional grunts of teenage acknowledgement. Jack listened, asked questions, played his part as the engaged father, while his mind churned over Dana's behavior. And then Sarah's mom said we could use real paint for the planets, not just markers. Ellie continued from the back seat. "That's great, sweetheart. Just make sure you wear old clothes." Jack caught Max's eye roll in the rearview mirror. "Hey, sport, you've got that history test today, right?" "Whatever." Max slouched deeper into his seat. "It's just about old dead guys signing papers." "The Constitution isn't just about old dead guys," Jack corrected. "It's about building something that lasts. Those men knew you had to have a strong foundation if you wanted to create something permanent." Max's phone buzzed. "Mom says she might not make it to my game Friday either." Jack's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I'll be there," he promised. "Front row, remember?" After dropping the kids off, Jack drove to the construction site where his latest project was taking shape. The 50-story office building was his biggest project yet as senior manager, and normally the sight of its rising steel skeleton filled him with pride. Today, it just reminded him of how much he had to lose. The site was already buzzing with activity. Cranes swung overhead, carrying massive steel beams. The percussion of jackhammers and the whine of power tools created the familiar symphony of construction that usually energized him. "Morning, boss." Carlos, his site foreman, greeted him with a clipboard full of reports. "Concrete pour for the 20th floor is scheduled for today." Weather's perfect for it. Jack forced himself to focus. He had a reputation for attention to detail, for never letting personal issues affect his work. He'd built that reputation the same way he built his buildings. Carefully, methodically, with an unwavering commitment to doing things right. "Let me see the mixed specs," he said, taking the clipboard. "We can't afford any weak spots in the foundation." Carlos nodded. "Already checked them twice. But you know what they say, measure twice, cut once. More like measure 3 times when you're building something this big." Jack reviewed the numbers, his mind automatically calculating load bearings and stress points. "Who's on the pour team today?" "Rodriguez, Martinez, and the new guy, Peterson." Jack frowned. "Peterson's too green for a pour this critical. Put Williams on instead. I want experience up there." "You got it, boss." Carlos made the note. "Oh, and the steel shipment for the East Wing came in. Want to check it?" Jack spent the next hour inspecting the steel beams, checking for any defects that could compromise the structure's integrity. Each beam had to be perfect. One weak link could bring down the whole building. Mr. Whitaker, his assistant, Sarah, appeared with a stack of permits. "The city inspector's here for the quarterly review." The morning passed in a blur of meetings, inspections, and problem-solving. Jack was reviewing safety protocols with a new crew when his phone buzzed. A text from Dana. "We need to talk when you get home." "I need something more." Jack's hand tightened on his phone. 5 words that sent ice through his veins. He typed back, "Everything okay?" The response came quickly. "I've planned a Friday night to feel alive again." Jack stared at the message, reading between the lines. In 17 years of marriage, Dana had never talked about feeling alive. She'd been content, or at least he thought she had been, with their steady, comfortable life. Now something had changed, and the change felt like a tremor in the foundation of everything he'd built. "Mr. Whitaker?" Sarah appeared again. "The structural engineers are waiting in the conference room." Jack straightened his shoulders. "Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes." The meeting dragged on for 2 hours. The engineers wanted to discuss modifications to the building's core support system. Normally, Jack would have been fully engaged, arguing for the most robust design possible. Today, he found himself checking his phone every few minutes, waiting for another message from Dana. "These support columns need to be reinforced," the lead engineer was saying. "The current design might not hold under extreme stress." Jack looked up sharply. "Nothing I build fails under stress," he said, his voice firm. Double the reinforcement if you have to. I won't risk a collapse. After the meeting, he walked the site again, checking every detail personally. The workers noticed his intense focus, the way his eyes missed nothing. Boss seems extra thorough today, he overheard one worker say to another. When isn't he? Man's got standards higher than this building. Jack worked through lunch, buried in specifications and safety reports. Around 2, Carlos brought him a sandwich. Eat something, boss. Can't run a site on an empty stomach. Jack took the sandwich automatically. Thanks, Carlos. How long have you worked with me now? Going on 8 years. Carlos leaned against the trailer wall. Best foreman job I've ever had. You run a tight ship. Because I don't cut corners, Jack said. Ever. You cut corners. Things fall apart. Carlos nodded. Like that Thompson project across town. Heard they rushed the foundation pour. Now the whole structure is showing cracks. Jack's phone buzzed again. Another text from Dana. Don't wait up tonight. Going to be late. He pushed through the rest of his workday. His mind split between construction schedules and the growing unease about what awaited him at home. At 5 o'clock, he packed up his briefcase and headed home, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. The drive home gave him too much time to think. He remembered when he and Dana first moved into their house. She'd been so excited about decorating, about making it their home. They'd spent weekends painting walls, picking out furniture, planning their future. When had that excitement faded? When had she started looking at their life together like it was a prison instead of a home? Dana was in the kitchen when he arrived, chopping vegetables with precise, sharp movements. She'd changed into a black dress he'd never seen before, one that hugged her curves in a way that made his stomach clench. The price tag on this one would probably match the blouse from this morning. The kids? He asked, setting down his briefcase. Max has practice until 7. Ellie's at her friend Sarah's working on their science project. Dana's voice was carefully neutral. I told him you'd pick them up. Jack leaned against the counter, studying his wife's profile. She'd done something different with her makeup too. Smoky eyes, red lips. Not her usual natural look. Want to tell me what's going on? Dana set down the knife, but didn't turn to face him. I told you I need something more. I'm going out tonight. Girls' night. The words felt hollow even as he said them. No. Dana finally turned, and her eyes were cold in a way that made Jack's chest ache. Just a night out. I need to feel something different. Something more than. She gestured vaguely at the kitchen, the house, their life. Jack's jaw tightened. More than what? Dana? More than the life we built together? More than our family? Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Jack. Dana grabbed her purse from the counter, another new purchase, he noticed. Designer label. I'll be back late. Don't wait up. We're in debt, you know. Jack's words stopped her halfway to the door. All these new clothes, new accessories. Where's the money coming from, Dana? She stiffened, but didn't turn around. I got a credit card. My own account. Behind my back. It wasn't a question. I don't need your permission. Her voice had an edge he'd never heard before. I'm not one of your construction workers you can order around. No, you're my wife. Or at least you used to be. That made her turn, eyes flashing. What's that supposed to mean? Jack pushed off from the counter, his movements deliberate. You tell me, Dana. New clothes, new makeup, secret credit cards. Late nights and vague explanations. You're building something too, aren't you? A new life, maybe. You're being paranoid. But her hand tightened on her purse strap. I'm just tired of being the perfect little housewife in your perfect little world. Perfect? Jack laughed, but there was no humor in it. I worked 60-hour weeks to give us this life. To give our kids opportunities we never had. You call that perfect? I call it suffocating. Dana's words cut through the air like a blade. Every day the same routine, the same conversations, the same everything. You're so focused on building things, Jack. You never stopped to ask if this was what I wanted. 17 years, Jack said quietly. 17 years to tell me what you wanted. Instead, you're sneaking around like a teenager. I'm not sneaking anywhere. I'm going out. That's all you need to know. She brushed past him, leaving behind the scent of unfamiliar perfume. Jack stood in the kitchen, listening to her heels click across the floor, the front door open and close. The house felt suddenly empty. echoing with 17 years of memories that seemed to be crumbling like poorly mixed concrete. His phone buzzed again. A text from Ellie. "Dad, can you help with my project? Sarah's mom can drive me home. Be there in 20 minutes, sweetheart," he replied, grateful for the distraction. While waiting for Ellie to get home, Jack mechanically put away the vegetables Dana had left on the cutting board. Each movement was controlled, measured, like laying brick upon brick. He opened the refrigerator to store the vegetables and paused. The shelf where Dana usually kept her lunch containers was empty. She hadn't packed a lunch in weeks, he realized. Another sign he should have noticed sooner. He pulled out his phone, opened the banking app. Their joint account showed regular withdrawals, small amounts, nothing suspicious on the surface. But they added up. Coffee shops he'd never heard of, boutiques with French names, restaurants way outside their usual neighborhood. A pattern emerging. Like hairline cracks in concrete, Ellie burst through the door with her usual energy, her backpack stuffed with craft supplies. "Dad, we're making a model of the solar system. Can you help me hang the planets?" "Of course," Jack said, pushing aside his darker thoughts. He helped Ellie spread her supplies across the kitchen table, listening to her explain which styrofoam ball would be which planet. "Mars has to be red," she explained seriously, holding up a ball the size of an apple. "And Jupiter needs lots of stripes. Sarah's doing Saturn because she's better at painting rings." They were halfway through painting Neptune when Dana's phone, forgotten on the counter in her rush to leave, buzzed repeatedly. Jack glanced over, his hand stilling on the paintbrush. The notification preview was clear on the screen. "Can't wait for tonight, beautiful. Zane, Dad." Ellie's voice seemed to come from far away. "You're squeezing the paintbrush too hard." Jack looked down to see blue paint dripping onto the table. "Sorry, sweetheart," he said, his voice remarkably calm. "Let me clean that up." He wiped up the paint mechanically, his mind racing. Dana had left her phone. Careless. Unlike her. She was usually so careful lately, always keeping it close, always angled away from him. "Hey, Ellie, why don't you start on Mercury while I check something?" With steady hands that betrayed none of the turmoil inside, he reached for Dana's phone. The passcode's still their anniversary. She hadn't even changed that. The Messages app was right there, recently active. Zane's name at the top of her conversation list. The text messages went back weeks. Zane Westbrook, tech entrepreneur, known for his flashy lifestyle and questionable business practices. Jack recognized the name from Business News, another Denver tech success story, though rumors of shady dealings followed him like shadows. "Beautiful. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing. You deserve so much more than suburban mediocrity. Tonight will be unforgettable." Each message was like a hammer blow to the foundation of Jack's life. Pictures, too. Intimate ones. His stomach churned as he scrolled through weeks of betrayal, documented in pixels and loving words. "Dad, is everything okay?" Jack locked the phone, set it down carefully. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Let's finish those planets." They worked until it was time to pick up Max from practice. Jack drove through the darkening streets on autopilot, his mind cataloging every detail he'd discovered. He'd learned in construction that you had to understand the extent of the damage before you could plan the repairs. Or in this case, the demolition. Max climbed into the car, sweaty from practice, still in his uniform. "Mom's still not home? She's out with friends." The lie tasted bitter, but he wouldn't let his children's world crumble. Not yet. Not until he was ready that night. After the kids were in bed, Jack sat in his home office, staring at the family photo on his desk. Dana's smile, now that he looked closer, had started fading months ago. He should have noticed sooner, should have seen the cracks forming. But it was too late for should-haves. That he picked up his phone and dialed a familiar number. "Nolan? It's Jack. We need to talk. Can you meet me for a beer?" His younger brother's voice came back, instantly concerned. "Everything okay?" "No," Jack said, his voice as solid as steel. "But it will be. I'm going to make sure of that." He hung up and looked at the photo one more time. Then he turned it face down on his desk. It was time to start building something new, something stronger. Something that would survive after the demolition was complete. After all, sometimes the only way to fix a compromised structure was to tear it down and start over. The drive to meet Nolan felt longer than usual. Jack's mind kept circling back to the messages on Dana's phone. each one replaying like a sledgehammer to concrete. He pulled into the parking lot of O'Malley's, their usual meeting spot. Since Nolan passed the bar exam 7 years ago, the bar was quiet for a Friday night. A few regulars hunched over their beers. A basketball game played silently on the TV above the bar. Nolan was already there, occupying their usual corner booth, 2 beers waiting. "You look like hell," Nolan said by way of greeting. At 35, Nolan shared Jack's strong jaw and broad shoulders. But where Jack was all straight lines and rigid control, Nolan had an easy smile and relaxed demeanor that served him well in his law practice. Jack slid into the booth. "Dana's having an affair." Nolan's beer stopped halfway to his mouth. "Jesus, Jack. You sure?" "Found the messages on her phone. Guy named Zane Westbrook." "The tech guy? The one who's always in the business section?" Jack took a long pull from his beer. "That's him. Been going on for weeks, maybe months. What are you going to do?" "That's why I called you." Jack leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I need options. Legal ones." Nolan set his beer down, lawyer mode engaging. "Well, Colorado's a no-fault state, but with evidence of infidelity, we might have leverage in settlement negotiations. You want to file?" "Not yet." Jack's voice was steel. "I want to understand exactly what I'm dealing with first. This Westbrook guy, there's always been rumors about his business practices. I want to know everything." "I've got some contacts in the DA's office," Nolan offered. "Could make some discreet inquiries." "Do it." Jack pulled out his phone, showed Nolan the banking app. "Look at these charges. New clothes, expensive restaurants. She got a secret credit card." Nolan whistled low. "Dissipation of marital assets. That'll help our case." He studied his brother's face. "How are you holding up?" "I'm fine." "Bullshit. I've known you my whole life, Jack. You don't do fine when things fall apart." Jack's hand tightened around his beer. "You remember when Dad left?" "Hard to forget. Mom was a mess for months. I promised myself I'd never do that to my kids. Never let them see their family crack apart." Jack's voice was low, controlled. "But I also promised myself I'd never be weak. Never let someone make a fool of me." "The kids," Nolan sighed. "You're going to fight for custody?" "Full custody." Jack's tone left no room for debate. "She chose her path. She doesn't get to destroy our children's lives, too. It won't be easy. Courts tend to favor mothers. Then we make it impossible for them not to favor me." Jack pulled out Dana's phone. "Look at these messages. She's meeting him tonight. At Eclipse downtown." Nolan scrolled through the messages, his lawyer's mind cataloging evidence. "This is good. Really good. But Jack, what's your play here?" "I'm going to build a case. Just like I build my buildings piece by piece. Every detail perfect." Jack's eyes were cold. "And when everything's in place, I'm going to bring it all down around her." "Careful, brother. Revenge can backfire." "This isn't about revenge." Jack finished his beer. "This is about justice. For me, for my kids. For 17 years of life she's throwing away." They spent the next hour planning, Nolan taking notes on his phone. Legal strategies, financial moves, custody arguments. Jack absorbed it all, fitting each piece into the structure, taking shape in his mind. "One more thing," Jack said as they were leaving. "I need a good private investigator. Someone discreet. I know a guy. Ex-cop, does good work." Nolan hesitated. "You sure about this?" "Once you start down this road, I'm sure." Jack's voice was final. "Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. They can only be rebuilt." Driving home, Jack's mind wandered back to the early days of his marriage. He'd been 25, just starting out in construction management. Dana had been 23, teaching kindergarten. They'd had nothing but dreams and determination. Their first apartment had been tiny, a one-bedroom walk-up with temperamental heating and a view of the dumpsters. But Dana had made it home. She'd hung curtains, arranged their second-hand furniture, filled the space with warmth and laughter. Back then, she'd looked at their modest life like it was a palace. "We'll build something amazing together," she'd told him on their first night there. "Just watch." And they had. Year by year, promotion by promotion, Jack had constructed their life with the same care he put into his buildings. Their first house, a fixer-upper they'd spent weekends renovating. Max's birth, then Ellie's. Each milestone, another brick in the foundation of their family. Jack pulled into his driveway, noting the darkness of the house. 10:30 p.m. The kids would be asleep. He checked his phone. No messages from Dana. Of course not. She was with him inside. He made his usual security rounds. Front door locked, back door secured, alarm system armed. In the kitchen, dinner dishes sat in the rack. Ellie had done them, judging by the way the plates were stacked. She always tried to help when Dana was out. He climbed the stairs quietly, pausing at each child's room. Max sprawled across his bed, headphones still on, history textbook open on his chest. Jack carefully removed the headphones and book, pulled a blanket over his son. 15 years old, but in sleep, he still looked like the little boy who used to beg for piggyback rides. In Ellie's room, the solar system project dominated her desk. She'd finished painting Neptune the blue, a little messy, but she'd captured the storms and swirls perfectly. Such attention to detail, just like him. Jack adjusted her blanket, brushed a strand of hair from her face. His phone buzzed. Nolan, PI contact info sent. Guy's name is Marcus Chun. Ex-Denver PD. Highly recommended. Jack saved the number, then opened his laptop. Time to learn more about Zane Westbrook. The tech entrepreneur's social media presence was extensive: charity galas, startup conferences, expensive cars. Recent photos showed him at the opening of his new downtown office building. The Thompson Project, Jack realized. The one with the Rush Foundation. A news article from 3 months ago caught his eye. Westbrook Technologies under SEC scrutiny. Jack read carefully. Allegations of inflated user numbers, questionable accounting practices. Nothing proven, but where there was smoke. Another buzz from his phone. An email from Carlos. Boss, city inspector found some issues with the East Wing supports. Needs immediate attention Monday morning. Jack replied immediately. I'll be there at 6 a.m. Don't touch anything until I inspect it. He was about to close his laptop when a social media notification popped up. One of Max's posts. A photo from last week's game, Dana noticeably absent from the family picture. The caption read, "Big win. Thanks for being there, Dad." The front door opened downstairs. Light footsteps, Dana trying to be quiet. Jack checked the time, 11:45 p.m. He stayed in his office listening. The rustle of her putting away her coat, the soft thud of her heels being removed. Then she was climbing the stairs, each step carefully placed. She paused outside his office door. He could see her shadow under the gap. Jack! Her voice was soft, uncertain. Working late, he replied, not looking up from his laptop. Oh, well, good night then. He waited until her footsteps retreated to their bedroom before opening his email. A new message to Marcus Chun. Mr. Chun, I need your services regarding a sensitive personal matter. Discretion is essential. Available to meet tomorrow. Jack Whitaker. The response came within minutes. Mr. Whitaker can meet 8 a.m. My office, 1242 Lawrence Street. Bring any relevant documentation. Jack closed his laptop and walked to the master bedroom. Dana was already in bed, facing away from his side. Her dress lay crumpled on the floor, unlike her usual tidiness. The scent of unfamiliar cologne lingered in the air. That he grabbed his pillow. I'll sleep in the guest room. Dana didn't turn over. Jack, don't. His voice was quiet but firm. Whatever lie you're about to tell, save it. I've got an early meeting tomorrow. In the guest room, Jack lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The house creaked and settled around him, sounds he knew by heart after 17 years. Tomorrow, he'd start gathering the pieces he needed. Evidence, documentation, ammunition. Dana had taught him an important lesson, one he should have learned from his father's departure. Never trust a weak foundation. It'll crumble when you least expect it. His phone buzzed one last time. A text from an unknown number. Hey brother, it's Marcus. Bring photos tomorrow if you have them. And Jack, try to get some sleep. Revenge is a game best played with a clear head. Jack smiled grimly in the darkness. Sleep could wait. He had demolition to plan. Marcus Chin's office occupied a small space above a Vietnamese restaurant in downtown Denver. Jack arrived at 7:55 a.m., a manila folder tucked under his arm. The hallway smelled of old carpet and fresh pho. Come in, Mr. Whitaker. Marcus stood in his doorway, exactly as Nolan had described him. Ex-cop written all over his compact frame and watchful eyes. Coffee? Black if you have it. Jack settled into the chair across from Marcus's cluttered desk. Marcus poured 2 cups from a battered coffee maker. Your brother Nolan's one of the good ones. When he calls, I listen. He slid 1 cup to Jack. So tell me what we're dealing with. Jack opened a folder, laid out printed screenshots of Dana's messages. My wife's having an affair with Zane Westbrook, the tech guy. Marcus picked up one of the screenshots. Interesting. He's been on my radar lately. A lot of whispers about his business practices. That's part of why I'm here. Jack leaned forward. I need everything where they meet, what they do, and especially anything about his company. My wife's involved with him during some SEC investigation. I want to know. Marcus's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Surveillance package runs $500 a day, plus expenses. Digital intelligence, that's extra. Money's not an issue. It always is, Mr. Whitaker. Question is what you're planning to do with what I find. Jack met his gaze steadily. Everything legal. But when I move, I want it to be decisive. Like demolition, Marcus said, surprising Jack. Yeah, I Googled you. You're the construction guy who never cuts corners. The one who brought down that corrupt inspector last year. He was taking bribes to overlook safety violations. People could have died. Marcus nodded approvingly. Same principle here. Gather evidence, build a case, then... He made a collapsing gesture with his hands. Exactly. Jack pulled out his checkbook. When can you start? Already have. Marcus turned his laptop around, showing a social media page. Your wife and Westbrook have dinner reservations tonight at Eclipse. Very public, very expensive. He likes to show off his conquests. Jack's jaw tightened. I want photos. Everything. Mr. Whitaker. Marcus's voice was careful. In my experience, guys in your situation either want to save their marriage or burn it down. Which are you? I don't save things that are fundamentally compromised. I replace them. Good answer. Marcus started typing. I'll have preliminary surveillance photos by Monday. But there's something else you should know about Westbrook. Guy's got a pattern. Married women, specifically wives of successful men. Makes him feel powerful. Tell me more. 3 cases I know of in the last 2 years. All ended in divorce. He promises these women the world, then disappears when things get messy. But lately he's been sloppy. The SEC investigations got him nervous. Jack's phone buzzed, Nolan calling. Excuse me, I need to take this. Jack, Nolan's voice was urgent. I did some digging on Westbrook. You're not going to believe what I found. Hold that thought. Jack looked at Marcus. Mind if my brother joins us? He's got information. 20 minutes later, Nolan burst into the office, clutching a folder. His lawyer's suit looked out of place in the shabby surroundings. Got it straight from my contact at the DA's office. Nolan spread documents across Marcus's desk. Westbrook's company is under investigation for fraud, but that's just the surface. He's been moving money through shell companies, lots of it. And guess who just became a silent partner in one of those companies? Jack's blood ran cold. Dana. Bingo. Nolan pointed to a document. She signed partnership papers 3 weeks ago. Probably doesn't even know what she's involved in. Marcus whistled softly. That changes things. If the SEC investigation goes south, she could be implicated, Nolan finished. This is better than anything we could have hoped for, Jack. When the fraud charges hit, hold on, Jack raised his hand. Walk me through this step by step. What exactly did Dana sign? Nolan pulled out another document. Investment partnership in a company called West Summit Ventures. On paper, it's a tech startup incubator. In reality, it's one of Westbrook's shell companies. He's been using it to inflate his main company's valuation. And Dana's now legally tied to it, Marcus added, scanning the paperwork. Pretty clever setup. Get the wife involved financially. Makes it harder for her to walk away when things go bad. Jack stood, pacing the small office. Does she know what she's involved in? Doubt it, Nolan said. These documents are deliberately confusing. Look at page 3. Even I had to read it twice to understand the liability structure. Classic con man move, Marcus noted. Make them feel special. Get them to sign something they don't understand. Then use it as leverage later. Jack stopped pacing. I want to see everything they do together. Every meeting, every dinner, every phone call. Already on it, Marcus turned to his computer. They got a pattern. Lunch dates at Bistro Laurent. Dinner at Eclipse or Le Petit. Always high-end places where Westbrook can show off. He's playing with my wife like she's some trophy. Jack's voice was deadly quiet. Nolan touched his brother's arm. Jack, we need to be smart about this. If we move too fast, I'm not moving fast. Jack cut him off. I'm moving precisely. Marcus, I want photos of every meeting. Documents of every transaction. Build me a timeline. What about the kids? Nolan asked. If this gets messy, the kids are exactly why we're doing this, right? Jack turned to Marcus. I need something concrete. Something that will guarantee me custody. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Give me a week. Between the financial fraud and his pattern with married women, we'll have enough to bury him. And her. Make it sooner. Jack checked his phone. Dana's getting sloppy. Left her phone at home yesterday. She'll make more mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, Nolan pulled out another paper. Look what I found in the court records. Westbrook's been sued twice by former companions. Both cases settled out of court. Records sealed. Can you unseal them? Not legally. But my contact says both women claimed he promised to leave his company to them. Got them to invest everything they had, then cut them loose when the SEC started sniffing around. Jack's phone buzzed again, a text from Ellie. Dad, can you pick me up from Sarah's later? Mom's not answering. I need to go. Jack gathered the documents. Marcus, start the surveillance today. Nolan, see what else you can dig up on those lawsuits. Jack, Nolan called as he reached the door. What's your endgame here? Jack turned, his expression hard. Dana chose him over her family. Fine. Let's see how she likes being trapped in his world when it all comes crashing down. Outside, Denver's morning traffic was picking up. Jack walked to his car, mind racing with plans. His phone buzzed again, Carlos from the construction site. Boss, we got a problem with the East Wing supports. City inspectors making noise. I'll be there in 20. Jack started his car. Don't let anyone touch anything until I arrive. The construction site was chaos when he arrived. The city inspector, Thompson, stood with his arms crossed, surrounded by nervous workers. Mr. Whitaker, Thompson called out. These support beams don't meet code. Jack strode over, boots crunching on gravel. Show me. They walked to the east wing, Thompson pointing out alleged violations. Jack listened, mentally cataloging each point. These calculations are off, Thompson insisted. The stress load, the calculations are perfect, Jack interrupted. I checked them myself. 3 times. Nevertheless, I'm going to have to shut down construction until— No, you're not. Jack pulled out his phone, showed Thompson a series of photos. These are from the Madison project across town. The one that's showing cracks because someone rushed the foundation pour. Someone who got paid to overlook problems. Thompson's face paled. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm telling you that my calculations are correct, my supports are sound, and you're going to sign off on them today. Thompson looked around nervously. Listen, Whitaker, maybe we can discuss this in private. Nothing to discuss. Jack's voice carried across the site. Either sign off on the completely legitimate work, or I make some calls about the Madison project. Your choice. The inspector deflated visibly. Oh, I'll have the paperwork ready this afternoon. 1 hour, Jack corrected. I want this resolved before lunch. As Thompson hurried away, Carlos approached. Boss, that was making sure things are done right. Jack turned to his foreman. Get the crews back to work. We've lost enough time. His phone buzzed a text from Marcus. Got eyes on your wife. Just met Westbrook for lunch at Bistro Laurent. Getting photos now. Another message followed quickly. You should see this. She's signing more papers. Jack's grip tightened on his phone. Carlos, handle things here. I need to make a call. In his site office, Jack called Nolan. They're meeting right now. She's signing more documents. Already? Nolan sounded surprised. He's moving faster than usual. Let me make some calls, see if any new shell companies got registered this morning. Do it. And Nolan? I want to know exactly what she's signing away. Jack, Nolan's voice was careful. What are you planning? Remember when we were kids? How Dad left us with nothing. Hard to forget. Dana's not just betraying me. She's risking our kids' future, getting involved in Westbrook's schemes. Jack's voice hardened. I won't let history repeat itself. The difference is you're smarter than Dad ever was, Nolan said. And you've got me this time. After hanging up, Jack received more photos from Marcus. Dana and Westbrook at an intimate table, heads close together. Her signing papers without reading them. His hand on hers at a text from Marcus. Want me to get closer? Might be able to hear what they're saying. Do it, Jack replied. 10 minutes later, his phone rang. You need to hear this, Marcus said without preamble. Westbrook's promising her a position in his company. Director of Community Relations. Salary that would make your eyes water. Jack laughed coldly. A company that's about to be investigated for fraud. Gets better. He's telling her to move some of her personal assets into one of his investment funds. For protection during the divorce. Protection from what? From you? Marcus's voice was grim. He's painting you as some kind of controlling monster. Says he can help her break free. Jack ended the call and sat in silence for a moment. Then he dialed another number. Logan? It's Jack Whitaker. Remember that favor you owe me? Logan Tate, Denver's most experienced process server, chuckled. The contractor who saved my ass on that renovation? How could I forget? I need you to serve some papers. Tonight. Very publicly. Just tell me when and where. Jack smiled grimly. Eclipse Restaurant. 8 p.m. I want it to be memorable. Divorce papers. Among other things. My lawyer will have everything ready. Jack spent the afternoon with Nolan at his law office, preparing the documents. The divorce papers were just the beginning. You're sure about this timeline? Nolan asked, spreading papers across his mahogany desk. Once we serve these, there's no going back. Show me what you've got. Jack stood at the window, watching Denver's afternoon traffic crawl below. All right. Nolan picked up the first document. Petition for divorce, citing abandonment and infidelity. Request for emergency custody order based on her involvement in Westbrook's financial schemes. Evidence of her signing partnership agreements without consulting you. Violating your prenup. The prenup she insisted we didn't need, Jack remembered. Said it wasn't romantic. Well, it's about to become very relevant. Nolan grabbed another file. I've also prepared a financial disclosure showing every penny she's moved to Westbrook's companies. When the SEC investigation becomes public, she'll be implicated. Exactly. Nolan leaned back. Jack, this is going to destroy her. She made her choice. Jack turned from the window. What about the custody arrangement? Full custody to you. Supervised visitation for her. Nolan tapped the papers. Given her financial entanglement with Westbrook and his history, any judge will see her as a flight risk. Jack's phone buzzed another text from Marcus. They're planning dinner at Eclipse. 8 p.m. Got the reservation details. Perfect timing, Jack muttered. You sure you want to do it this way? Nolan asked. Public humiliation is exactly what she deserves. Jack's voice was steel. Let her feel the eyes of everyone she knows watching her world collapse. Nolan sighed. Logan's good at his job. Maybe too good. This will be the talk of their social circle for months. Good. Jack checked his watch. I need to pick up the kids. Get everything ready for Logan. At home, Jack found Ellie working on her science project again. The solar system was nearly complete, planets hanging from careful strings. Mom's not coming to my presentation tomorrow, she said quietly, painting details on Saturn's rings. Jack knelt beside her. I'll be there, sweetheart. Front row. Promise. Have I ever broken a promise to you? Ellie shook her head, then hesitated. Dad? Is Mom okay? She seems different. Jack chose his words carefully. Sometimes adults make choices that affect everyone around them. But no matter what happens, you and Max are my priority. Understand? Is that why you're sleeping in the guest room? Before Jack could answer, his phone rang. Marcus again. Got something you need to see, Marcus said without preamble. Westbrook just bought 2 tickets to Cabo. For next week. Jack's hand tightened on the phone. Under what names? His and hers. Want to guess who hers is? Send me everything. Jack forwarded the flight details to Nolan, then called Logan. Change of plans, he said. Add these travel documents to the papers you're serving. I want everyone to see exactly what she was planning. Got it? Logan sounded impressed. You don't mess around, do you? Not when it comes to my family. At 7:30 p.m., Jack sat in his home office, watching through the window as Dana left for her dinner with friends. She'd spent 2 hours getting ready, wearing a dress that probably cost more than their first month's rent all those years ago. His phone buzzed with updates from Marcus. She's arrived at Eclipse. Westbrook's already there. Private booth in the back. Place is packed. Lots of familiar faces. Logan's in position. Jack's phone lit up with a text from Logan. A lot of local business people here tonight. Perfect audience. Wait until they're comfortable, Jack texted back. Let them order the expensive wine first. He switched to the surveillance feed Marcus had set up. Through the restaurant's front window, he could see Dana and Westbrook at their table. Westbrook was pouring champagne, leaning in close to whisper something that made Dana laugh. You seeing this? Marcus texted. He just handed her another envelope. Jack's jaw tightened. What's in it? Looks like more partnership documents. And, yeah, that's definitely a passport application. Nolan called next. Jack, you watching? Every second. Logan's got everything ready. Sure you don't want to be there in person? No. Jack's voice was firm. I don't need to see it. I just need it done. Through the feed, Jack watched as Westbrook raised his glass in a toast. Dana was glowing, completely unaware of what was coming. She'd always been naive that way, too ready to believe in fairy tales. Boss! Carlos's voice cut in on the other line. Sorry to interrupt, but we got the final approval from Thompson. East Wing supports are officially cleared. Good. Make sure everything's documented. Triple checked. Always do with you, boss. Hey, isn't that your wife on Channel 9? Jack switched to the local news. Sure enough, a reporter was doing a live segment outside Eclipse about Denver's tech boom. The camera panned through the window, catching Dana and Westbrook in the background. Perfect timing. Logan, Jack texted. Now, the feed showed Logan entering Eclipse, envelope in hand. He was good, moved like he belonged there, navigating between tables with practiced ease. Jack turned up the volume on his phone. Marcus had managed to get a microphone close enough to catch the action. Dana Whitaker. Logan's voice carried clearly through the crowded restaurant. Dana looked up, confusion crossing her face. Yes, you've been served. The envelope landed on the table between the champagne glasses. The restaurant grew quiet. Dozens of eyes turning to watch. What is this? Dana's voice shook as she opened the envelope. Westbrook reached for the papers. Let me see that. Sir, these are for Mrs. Whitaker only, Logan said loudly. Though you might be interested in page 12, the part about fraud investigations and shell companies. More phones buzzed around the restaurant as people began recording. Through the feed, Jack could see Dana's hands trembling as she read the documents. This can't. Zane, what does this mean about West Summit Ventures? Westbrook was already standing, gathering his coat. Dana, don't make a scene. A scene? Her voice rose. You told me those investments were safe. You said, I said a lot of things. Westbrook's charm had vanished. And now you're served with divorce papers in the middle of dinner. Not very subtle of your husband, is it? Quite subtle compared to planning a secret trip to Cabo, Logan commented, pulling out the flight reservations. These were in the envelope too, by the way. Might want to check the refund policy. The restaurant was absolutely silent now. Dana's face had gone from red to white as she read through the papers. He knows, she whispered. He knows everything. Of course he knows. Westbrook was already backing away from the table. And now everyone else does too. Good luck with the SEC investigation, Dana. Don't call me. Dana sat alone at the table, surrounded by whispers and staring faces. Her hands shook as she gathered the papers, dropping them twice before managing to stuff them into her purse. Mrs. Whitaker, Logan added, still projecting his voice clearly. The custody papers are in there too. Your presence is required in court next Tuesday. Through the feed, Jack watched as his wife of 17 years stumbled to her feet. The restaurant's patrons parted like water, creating a path of judgment and whispers. Someone near the bar was already on the phone, undoubtedly spreading the news that Marcus's voice came through. She's heading home. Want me to follow? No need. Jack stood from his desk. I know exactly where she's going. He walked downstairs, checking on the kids first. Max was in his room, headphones on, oblivious to the drama unfolding. Ellie had fallen asleep, surrounded by her planets. Jupiter tilted slightly on its string. Jack's phone rang Nolan again. "It's done," his brother said. "Already getting calls from other lawyers. Word travels fast in this town. How long until the SEC investigation hits the news?" "My contact says tomorrow morning. Early edition." Nolan paused. "You should see the evidence they have, Jack. Westbrook's going down hard, and he's taking his partners with him. Partners like Dana." "Exactly. The DA's office is already..." The sound of tires on the driveway cut him off. "She's here," Jack said. "I'll call you back." He hung up just as the front door burst open. Dana stormed in, mascara streaked down her face, clutching her purse like a shield. "How dare you?" she hissed, trying to keep her voice down for the kids. "In front of everyone? Like that?" Jack leaned against the kitchen counter, his voice calm. "Interesting choice of words. How dare you?" "Not, it isn't true, or there's been a mistake. You had me followed? Spied on? Like you spied on my bank accounts to fund your little investment with Westbrook?" Dana flinched. "That's different. What you needed," Jack cut her off, "was to think about our children before getting involved in securities fraud." "Securities?" The color drained from her face. "What are you talking about?" "West Summit Ventures. The shell company you signed into last month. The one the SEC is investigating." Jack pulled out his phone, showed her the news alert queued for tomorrow. "Your boyfriend's been busy, Dana. And you signed everything he put in front of you." "No." She shook her head. "No, Zane said those were just investment opportunities. He said whatever you wanted to hear. And you believed him, because it was easier than being satisfied with the life we built." "The life you built." Dana's voice rose before she caught herself, glancing upstairs. "You never asked what I wanted. You just kept building and building, trapping me in your perfect little world." Jack's laugh was cold. "Trapping you? With a comfortable home? Happy kids? A husband who actually keeps his promises?" He stepped closer. "No, Dana. You weren't trapped. You were protected. And you threw it away for a con man in an expensive suit." "Dad." Max's voice came from the stairs. "What's going on?" They both turned to see their son standing there, headphones around his neck, eyes moving between them. Behind him, Ellie appeared in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed astronaut bear. Dana quickly wiped her eyes. "Nothing, honey. Just a discussion. Don't lie to them," Jack interrupted. "They deserve the truth. You've lied enough." Max descended the stairs slowly. "Is this about that guy? The one I saw you with at the mall last week?" Dana's face crumpled. "Max, I can explain. Save it." Max's voice cracked. "I saw you kissing him. I didn't want to believe it." "Maxie, please. Don't call me that." Max backed away from her reaching hand. "Dad was right. You're just like Grandpa was to Grandma. A liar." Ellie's small voice carried from the stairs. "Are you leaving us, Mom?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Dana looked between her children, her carefully constructed excuses crumbling. She started. "Yes," Jack answered firmly. "Your mother made her choice. She chose someone else over this family." "That's not fair," Dana protested. "I never meant to." "To what?" Jack's voice was steel. "To get caught? To have your boyfriend abandon you the second things got difficult? To risk our children's future with your fraud schemes?" "Fraud?" Max asked sharply. "What fraud?" "Your mother signed some papers," Jack explained, keeping his voice level. "Papers that got her involved in illegal business dealings. The police will probably want to talk to her soon." "The police?" Ellie's eyes went wide. She ran down the stairs to Jack. Wrapping her arms around his waist, Dana reached for her daughter. "Ellie, baby, it's not like that." "Don't touch her," Jack warned quietly. "In fact, you should pack a bag. Your lawyer will contact you about visitation rights." "Visitation?" Dana's voice rose. "These are my children." "We're your children," Jack corrected. "Before you sign them away along with everything else. Check page 6 of those papers you were served. The custody agreement's very clear." Max moved to stand beside Jack, putting Ellie between them. A wall of hurt and rejection facing Dana. "How could you, Mom?" Max's voice was barely a whisper. "We were happy. Were we?" Dana's laugh was hysterical. "Living Jack's perfect life? Following Jack's perfect plans? Never a single deviation or mistake allowed. The only mistake, Jack said quietly, was trusting you with our family's future. Pack your bag, Dana. You have 30 minutes. Or what? Or I call the SEC tonight instead of letting them find you tomorrow. Jack's voice was emotionless. I'm sure they'd love to know where you are, considering the evidence they have. Dana's shoulders slumped in defeat. She looked at her children one last time, but both Max and Ellie turned away, pressing closer to Jack. I'll get my things. Her voice was barely audible as she climbed the stairs. Jack hugged his children close. Go back to bed. I'll handle this. Dad. Ellie's eyes were wet. Will you check on my planets before school tomorrow? Of course, sweetheart. He kissed her forehead. They'll be perfect. Just like you. Max lingered after Ellie went upstairs. Did you know? Before today. Found out yesterday. Jack put a hand on his son's shoulder. I wanted proof before I acted. Like on your construction sites. Max nodded. Measure 3 times. Exactly. Jack squeezed his shoulder. Go on up. You've got that history test tomorrow. Yeah. Max started up the stairs, then turned back. Dad, I'm glad you're not like Grandpa. You know, after what happened with Grandma. I learned from his mistakes, son. Now we rebuild. Stronger. Upstairs. Dana was throwing clothes into a suitcase, her movements frantic. Jack stood in the doorway, watching. Where am I supposed to go? She asked, not looking at him. That's not my problem anymore. He checked his watch. 20 minutes left. His phone buzzed a text from Nolan. SEC just moved up their timeline. They're moving on Westbrook tonight. Might want to hurry, Jack told Dana. Your boyfriend's about to have company. As if on cue, her phone started ringing Westbrook's name on the display. She reached for it, but Jack was faster. I wouldn't, he warned, holding up the phone. Every call you make to him now could be evidence later. Evidence of what? Her voice shook. Jack, please. I don't understand what's happening. That's the problem, isn't it? You never understood what you had. What you were risking. He set her phone down. 15 minutes. She grabbed more clothes, jewelry, her laptop. The kids are no longer your concern. You can't keep them from me. Actually, I can, and I will. Jack's voice was granite. You chose excitement over stability. Westbrook over family. Now you get to live with those choices. Another text from Nolan. FBI just entered Westbrook's office building. Jack showed Dana the message. Looks like your boyfriend's night is getting interesting too. She sank onto the bed, surrounded by half-packed bags. What am I supposed to do? You should have thought about that before signing those partnership papers. Jack checked his watch again. 10 minutes. Though you might want to hurry. The FBI tends to work quickly in fraud cases. Dana's phone lit up with alerts news breaking about FBI raids at Westbrook Technologies. Her hands shook as she read the headlines. Tech entrepreneur Zane Westbrook under federal investigation. FBI raids Denver tech offices in fraud probe. SEC launches criminal investigation into Westbrook's empire. No, she whispered. This can't be happening. It's been happening for months, Jack said. You were just too blinded by his promises to see it. His phone buzzed. Marcus calling. FBI's at his penthouse too, Marcus reported. They're seizing everything. Computers, phones, documents. And the proof we found about Dana's involvement? Already in their hands. Anonymous tip. Jack ended the call, watching Dana frantically shoving more items into her suitcase. 5 minutes. My jewelry stays here. His voice was ice. Anything bought with joint assets is forfeit. Check the divorce papers. Dana yanked open her jewelry box anyway, but it was empty. Where is everything? Safe. Along with the kids' college funds and our savings. Jack leaned against the doorframe. Did you really think I'd let you drain our accounts for Westbrook schemes? I wasn't. She stopped as her phone lit up again. A text from Westbrook. Don't contact me. Lawyers say no communication. Tears streamed down her face as she read it. He said he loved me. He said whatever it took to get you to sign those papers. Jack checked his watch. 2 minutes. Heavy footsteps on the stairs. Max again. Mom? His voice was small. Younger than his 15 years. Dana turned, hope flashing across her face. Baby, I just wanted to say. Max straightened his shoulders. I don't want to see you. Not for a long time. Max, please. I'm your mother. No. Max's voice hardened. A mother doesn't destroy her family. A mother doesn't choose some rich guy over her kids. I didn't mean to. Save it. Max turned away. Dad? Make sure she leaves. I will, son. Jack put a hand on Max's shoulder. As the boy walked away, Dana stared after him, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Her phone buzzed again, news alerts about assets being frozen, accounts seized. Time's up, Jack said quietly. I'd hurry if I were you. FBI's probably looking for all Westbrook's associates by now. Dana grabbed her suitcase, stumbling toward the stairs. In the hallway, Ellie's solar system project spun gently, casting shadows on the wall. She reached out to touch Jupiter, but Jack's voice stopped her. Don't. You've broken enough. She withdrew her hand as if burned. Can I at least say goodbye to Ellie? She's asleep, Jack lied, knowing their daughter was crying into her pillow. And you've done enough damage for one night. The front door opened, Nolan walking in, still in his suit from earlier. Perfect timing, Jack said. Dana was just leaving. I'll need those partnership documents, Nolan said, his lawyer voice in full effect. All of them. Now. Dana clutched her purse. I don't have them here. They're in my safety deposit box. Nolan finished. Already cleared out. Court order. He held up a file. Found some interesting things in there. Wire transfers, offshore account details. I didn't know, Dana whispered. Zane said they were just investment papers. Investment in fraud, Nolan corrected. The SEC's going to love going through all this. Jack's phone buzzed again, another text from Marcus. Westbrook's being let out in cuffs. Want photos? Add them to the file. Jack replied that Dana's own phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. She answered with shaking hands. Mrs. Whitaker, a formal voice carried clearly in the quiet house. This is Agent Stevens with the FBI. We need you to come in for questioning regarding West Summit Ventures. The phone slipped from Dana's grip, clattering on the hardwood floor. Jack picked it up. She'll be there, he told the agent. First thing in the morning. Nolan stepped forward. As her soon-to-be ex-brother-in-law, I should mention she's no longer represented by my firm. She'll need to find new counsel. But you said you'd always be my lawyer, Dana protested. That was before you betrayed my brother. Nolan's voice was cold. Family loyalty, Dana. Something you clearly don't understand. A car pulled up outside Marcus, right on schedule. Your ride's here, Jack said. He'll take you wherever you need to go. Though I'd suggest a lawyer's office first. Dana looked around the home. She was leaving family photos on the walls, children's art on the fridge, 17 years of life she'd thrown away. Jack, she tried one last time. We can fix this. No, he said simply. We can't. I don't fix betrayal. I bury it. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Whitaker? We should go. FBI's setting up surveillance points. She took one last look up the stairs, then walked out into the night. The door closed behind her with a final click. You okay? Nolan asked his brother. Jack watched through the window as Marcus's car pulled away. I don't rebuild on broken foundations. The kids and I will start fresh. Speaking of fresh starts, Nolan pulled out another document. Custody hearings set for Tuesday. With the FBI investigation and the fraud charges, she won't fight it, Jack said. She can't afford to. Not anymore. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked, both children listening, no doubt. Go home, Nolan. I need to check on my kids. His brother nodded. Call if you need anything. And Jack, you did the right thing. The strong thing. I know. Jack's voice was firm. I protect what's mine. Always have, always will. After Nolan left, Jack climbed the stairs. Time to rebuild what Dana had tried to destroy. Time to show his children that while some people crumbled under pressure, others emerged stronger. After all, that's what he did best. Build things that lasted. The morning after Dana's departure, Denver's news channels buzzed with the Westbrook scandal. Jack watched from his office at the construction site as reporters swarmed the tech entrepreneur's downtown headquarters. Turn it up, Carlos called from the doorway, coffee in hand. The news anchor's voice filled the trailer. Tech mogul Zane Westbrook faces multiple federal charges in what prosecutors call a sophisticated fraud scheme. Sources say the FBI seized documents implicating several prominent local figures. Jack's phone rang Marcus. "You watching the show?" the PI asked without preamble. "Every second. Gets better. FBI's expanding their investigation to include all of Westbrook's shell companies, including the ones with your wife's signatures all over them." "Ex-wife," Jack corrected. "The papers are filed." "Well, your ex-wife's having a rough morning. She tried checking into the Four Seasons. Cards all declined." Jack smiled coldly. "Frozen along with Westbrook's assets? Everything connected to his companies is locked down tight. But here's the interesting part. She tried calling him from the hotel lobby. His lawyer answered, told her Westbrook's giving evidence to the feds, turning on his accomplices to save himself. Like rats from a sinking ship, Marcus agreed. Wanted to keep following her? No need." Jack checked his watch. "She'll be at the FBI field office in an hour." Agent Stevens was very clear about that. He ended the call as Nolan walked in, carrying a thick file. "Morning, brother," Nolan said. "Ready for some good news?" "Always," Jack gestured to a chair. "What V you got?" Nolan spread documents across Jack's desk. DA's office just released the initial charges. Securities fraud, wire fraud, money laundering. But here's the best part. They're charging everyone who signed partnership agreements, including Dana. Nolan tapped a particular document. They're calling her a knowing participant based on the timing of the investments and the offshore accounts. Jack leaned forward. "Show me. See these transfers?" Nolan pointed to a series of numbers. "She moved money from your joint accounts to Westbrook Shell Companies right when the SEC investigation started. Makes it look like she was helping him hide assets. Was she? Doesn't matter. It's how it looks." Nolan smiled grimly. "No judge will give custody to someone under federal investigation." Jack's phone buzzed a text from Max. "Dad, there are reporters at school. I need to handle something," Jack told Nolan. "Stay here." He found Max in the school parking lot, reporters clustering nearby with cameras. "Mr. Whitaker." One stepped forward. "Any comment on your wife's involvement in the Westbrook scandal?" Jack put an arm around Max's shoulders, steering him toward the car. "My only concern is protecting my children. Is it true Mrs. Whitaker was Westbrook's secret partner?" "Back off." Jack's voice could have frozen fire. "My son's a minor. Try to interview him. You'll deal with more lawyers than Westbrook." In the car, Max slumped in his seat. "Everyone's talking about it. About Mom. Let them talk." Jack started the engine. "We know the truth." "Yeah." Max straightened. "She chose him over us. Now she can deal with it." Jack's phone rang Agent Stevens. "Mr. Whitaker, your wife just finished her initial interview. How'd it go?" "She implicated Westbrook in everything. Claims he manipulated her into signing documents she didn't understand. And he's saying the opposite. Claims she was a willing participant. Helped to move money around to avoid detection." Jack smiled slightly. "Sounds complicated." "Very. We'll need you to come in, verify some transactions." "Of course. Happy to help justice take its course." The FBI field office hummed with activity. Jack sat across from Agent Stevens, a stack of financial records between them. "Let's go through these transactions." Stevens pushed forward a document. "This transfer to West Summit Ventures, $200,000. Your signature?" "No." Jack's voice was firm. "I never signed anything related to Westbrook's companies. But the money came from your joint account, an account my wife cleaned out without my knowledge." Jack pulled out his own paperwork. "Here's the prenup she violated by doing so." Stevens reviewed the document. "This is helpful. Very helpful." He leaned forward. "Mr. Whitaker, we have reason to believe your wife was more involved than she's admitting." "How so?" "Westbrook kept records. Detailed ones. Meeting notes, strategy sessions, plans to move assets offshore." Stevens spread out photographs. "She was there for all of it." The photos showed Dana and Westbrook in various offices and restaurants, papers spread between them. In each one, she looked engaged, alert, not confused or manipulated. "When were these taken?" "Over the past 3 months, while the SEC was already investigating." Stevens tapped one photo. "This meeting?" "They were planning to transfer company assets to the Cayman Islands." Jack's phone buzzed Nolan. Dana's looking for a criminal defense lawyer. Word is, no one will take her case. Something amusing? Stevens asked, noting Jack's slight smile. Just thinking about foundations, Jack replied. When they're weak, everything collapses. The interview lasted another hour. As Jack left, he saw Dana being led into another room, looking small and afraid without her designer clothes and makeup. Outside, Marcus waited by his car. Thought you might want to see this. He handed Jack a folder. Westbrook's turning over everything. Trying to cut a deal. Smart man. Jack flipped through the documents. He knows a sinking ship when he sees one. Speaking of sinking, Marcus nodded toward the street. Dana's car was being loaded onto a tow truck. FBI's seizing everything connected to the fraud. She always loved that car, Jack mused. Spent more on it than our first house down payment. His phone rang Ellie's school. Mr. Whitaker? Could you come in? Ellie's a bit upset. Some kids are talking about the news. I'll be right there. He found Ellie in the counselor's office, her solar system project clutched to her chest. The planets fell, she whispered when she saw him. I can't make them stay up anymore. Jack knelt beside her chair. Then we'll rebuild them. Stronger this time, like you're doing with us? Exactly like that, sweetheart. Back home, Jack helped Ellie reassemble her solar system, using stronger wire this time. Max joined them, handling Jupiter with careful hands. Dad? Max asked, rehanging the gas giant. Is Mom going to jail? That's up to the FBI now. Jack secured Saturn's rings. But she made her choices. The doorbell rang Nolan again, this time with more files. You need to see this, he said, spreading papers across the kitchen counter. Westbrook's, singing like a bird. Gave up everything. How bad? Bad enough that Dana's looking at serious charges. Nolan pulled out a particular document. Look at these signatures. She knew exactly what she was doing. Jack studied the papers while his children worked on the planets. Each signature represented another betrayal, another crack in their family's foundation. His phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. Dana, please, Jack, help me. They're talking about prison time. He deleted the message without responding. That's the third burner phone she's tried, Nolan noted. Getting desperate. Let her. Jack's voice was steel. She counted on Westbrook saving her. Now she can watch him save himself instead. The news played quietly on the kitchen TV. Breaking. Tech CEO Zane Westbrook cooperates with federal investigation. Sources say prominent socialite Dana Whitaker implicated in scheme. Dad. Ellie called from the living room. Neptune's ready. Coming, sweetheart. He turned to Nolan. When's the custody hearing? Tomorrow morning. But with these charges, Nolan gestured at the TV. It's already decided. The next morning, Denver's courthouse buzzed with activity. Jack sat with his children in the front row, watching as Dana entered with her court-appointed lawyer, the only one who'd take her case. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Martinez studied the papers before her. Mrs. Whitaker, these are serious allegations coinciding with this custody hearing. Your Honor, Dana's lawyer started. My client was manipulated by... Save it. The judge cut him off. I have copies of every document she signed. Every meeting she attended, she held up a photo. This is you at Eclipse Restaurant, discussing offshore accounts while your son's basketball team was in the state finals. Max stiffened beside Jack. That had been his biggest game of the season. Dana's voice cracked. The FBI has provided compelling evidence of your willing participation in Mr. Westbrook's schemes, Judge Martinez continued. This court cannot, in good conscience, grant custody rights to someone facing federal charges. Your Honor, please. Dana stood, trembling. They're my children. We're your children, Judge Martinez corrected. Before you chose fraud over family. She lifted another document. I have evidence of you attempting to move their college funds offshore. Their future security, Mrs. Whitaker. Their education. Jack felt Ellie press closer to his side. Max sat rigid, staring straight ahead. Full custody is granted to Mr. Whitaker, the judge declared. Mrs. Whitaker, given the pending federal charges and flight risk concerns, you are granted no visitation rights at this time. No. Dana's cry echoed through the courtroom. Jack, please. Tell them. Tell them what? Jack's voice carried clearly. That you chose a con man over your family? that you risked our children's future for a few months of excitement. I loved him. No, Max stood suddenly. You loved what he promised you. Big houses, fancy cars, expensive trips. Things Dad actually worked for. The judge banged her gavel. That's enough. Mr. Whitaker, you have sole custody. Mrs. Whitaker, you're due in federal court this afternoon for arraignment. Outside the courtroom, reporters clustered with cameras. Mr. Whitaker, how do you feel about the custody decision? Any comment on the federal investigation? What about Mr. Westbrook's cooperation with authorities? Jack shielded his children from the cameras. My only comment is this: actions have consequences. My children and I are moving forward. Nolan appeared, creating a path through the reporters. Cars waiting out back. And Jack, Westbrook just finished his plea deal. Details? He gave them everything. Every meeting, every transaction. Nolan's smile was grim. Every partner who helped him hide money, including Dana, especially Dana. He claimed she was one of his most eager accomplices. They reached the car just as Dana was let out another door, federal agents flanking her. Her designer outfit had been replaced by simple clothes, her makeup gone, her hair flat. Mom? Ellie's voice was small. Dana looked up, hope flashing across her face, only to crumble as Ellie turned away, burying her face in Jack's jacket. I don't want to see her anymore, Dad, Ellie whispered. You don't have to, sweetheart. Jack helped her into the car. We're going home. At home, Jack found Marcus waiting on the porch. Figured you'd want these. Marcus handed over a thick envelope. Westbrook's complete confession. Every meeting, every scheme, every lie he told her. Max took the envelope from Jack's hands. Can I read it? You sure you wanna? Need to. Max's jaw set firmly. Need to understand why she threw us away. Inside, Jack watched his son read through the documents at the kitchen table while Ellie worked on her homework nearby. The solar system project hung complete above them, each planet perfectly balanced. His phone buzzed Agent Stevens. Mr. Whitaker, thought you'd want to know. Your wife's arraignment didn't go well. Not my wife anymore, Jack corrected. What happened? Judge denied bail. Flight risk, given the Cabo tickets and offshore accounts. Stevens paused. She asked about the children. They're safe. That's all she needs to know. After hanging up, Jack found Max staring at a particular page. She helped him plan it, Max said quietly. The whole thing. Even suggested ways to hide the money better. Sometimes people show their true nature when they think nobody's watching. Like Grandpa did to Grandma. Jack sat beside his son. Your grandfather was weak. He ran when things got hard. But you're stronger than that. You and Ellie both. Because of you, Max looked up. You stayed. You fought. That's what real fathers do. Jack squeezed his shoulder. We protect what matters. Nolan arrived with dinner pizza, the kids' favorite. As they ate, the news played quietly in the background. Tech CEO Zane Westbrook pleads guilty, names accomplices in fraud scheme. They're saying Mom might get 10 years, Max said between bites. Good, Ellie spoke up suddenly. She can't hurt us anymore. Jack watched his children, seeing their mother's betrayal harden into resolve in their eyes. They were learning early what had taken him years to understand. Some breaks couldn't be repaired, only rebuilt stronger. A month passed. The headlines about Westbrook faded, replaced by newer scandals. Jack threw himself into his work, making the east wing of his building project stronger than ever. Final inspections today, Carlos said one morning, offering Jack coffee. Thompson's replacement is thorough. Good. Jack surveyed the rising structure. No shortcuts. Not on my sights. His phone buzzed another text from Dana's latest burner phone. The sentencing is tomorrow. Please bring the kids. Let me see them one last time. He deleted it without responding. Dad? Max stood in his office doorway after school. Coach says I'm starting in Friday's game. Against Brighton? Front row, Jack promised. Just like always. Mom's sentencing is tomorrow. I know. Max shifted his backpack. The guys on the team, they don't talk about it anymore. About her. They just ask if I'm okay. Are you? Yeah. Max straightened. We're better without her. Stronger. At home, Jack found Ellie in the living room, homework spread around her. The solar system project had earned her an A+, now displayed proudly on the wall. Ms. Rodriguez says I should join the science club, she announced. They're building robots. Sounds perfect for you, sweetheart. Mom used to say science was boring. Ellie's voice was matter-of-fact. She wanted me to do dance instead. Jack sat beside her. And what do you want? Robots? Ellie smiled. Definitely robots. The next morning, Jack sat in the federal courthouse, watching Dana's sentencing. She'd lost weight in prison, her designer confidence replaced by defeated slumps. The defendant has pled guilty to multiple counts of fraud, the judge intoned. Given her willing participation in Mr. Westbrook's schemes and the severity of her actions, 8 years in federal prison, the judge declared. With no possibility of parole for 5 years. Dana swayed slightly at the pronouncement. Her court-appointed lawyer placed a steadying hand on her arm. Additionally, the judge continued, the defendant is ordered to pay restitution of $2.1 million, representing her portion of the fraudulent schemes. Jack watched from the back of the courtroom as Dana turned, searching the seats for familiar faces. She found only strangers and reporters. The children were at school, where they belonged, building their new lives without her. Mr. Whitaker? He turned to find Agent Stevens beside him. Thought you want to know Westbrook got 12 years this morning in a separate hearing. No parole for 8. Fitting Jack nodded. They can share their glory days in separate prisons. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed again. Mr. Whitaker, your ex-wife just received 8 years. Any comment? Jack faced the cameras steadily. Justice was served. That's all I have to say. At the construction site, he found his team celebrating the final inspection approval. The east wing stood perfect, every support exactly where it needed to be. Quite a day, Carlos said, offering him a cup of coffee. Building passes inspection. Ex-wife goes to prison. Life goes on. Jack took the coffee. We build. We make things stronger. His phone buzzed a text from Max. Coach says I might get a basketball scholarship if I keep playing like this. Think you could help me practice this weekend? Always, Jack replied. That evening, he found Ellie in the garage, surrounded by robot parts from her science club. It's not working right. She frowned at the half-assembled machine. The foundation keeps wobbling. Here, Jack knelt beside her. Let me show you something about building strong bases. Later, after the kids were asleep, Jack sat in his office reviewing blueprints for his next project. A photo caught his eye, the old family portrait he'd turned face down months ago. He picked it up, studying Dana's false smile, seeing now what he'd missed before. A knock at his door, Max in his basketball shorts. Can't sleep? Jack asked. Was thinking. Max leaned against the doorframe. Mom's gone for 8 years. By then, I'll be in college. If that's what you want, it is. Max straightened. I want to build things too. Like you do. Make things that last. Jack smiled at his son. First, you need to build yourself. Strong grades, strong character. Like the East Wing supports? Exactly like that. Jack set down the old photo. No shortcuts. 3 months later, life had found its new rhythm. Jack stood in the crowded gym, watching Max score the winning basket against Brighton High. The crowd erupted, and Max's teammates lifted him onto their shoulders. Did you see that shot, Dad? Max called over the chaos. Front row, Jack replied. Just like I promised. Ellie, wearing her brother's spare jersey, bounced beside them. Can we get ice cream to celebrate? After we see Max's robot battle tomorrow, Jack reminded her. Science Club finals, remember? That night, as Jack helped clean up the celebration dinner dishes, Nolan stopped by with news. Thought you should know Dana's appeal was denied. All 8 years stand. Good. Jack dried a plate. The kids haven't asked about her in weeks. And Westbrook? Some things aren't worth remembering. Jack's phone lit up with a text from Carlos. New project bid came in. Biggest one yet. You interested? Always, Jack replied. Send me the details. He found Max in the garage, practicing free throws against the wall. You know we have a hoop out front? Yeah, but in here I can work on my form without distractions. Max caught the ball. Coach says form is everything. Like you're building foundations. Smart coach. Dad. Max held the ball. Serious now. Thanks for not giving up. You know, when Mom, that's not who we are. Jack said firmly. We're builders, son. When things break, we don't run. We rebuild. Stronger. In the living room, Ellie's robot sat ready for tomorrow's competition, its base solid and true. The solar system still spun gently above, each planet perfectly balanced in its new orbit. No more wobbles, no more falls. Jack checked his watch time for his evening workout at the boxing gym. He'd started going after Dana left, turning pain into power, betrayal into strength. Heading to the gym, he called upstairs. Homework done? Just finished, Ellie replied. Can we work on the robot one more time when you get back? Of course, sweetheart. As Jack drove to the gym, he passed Eclipse Restaurant, the place where everything had fallen apart and where his new life had begun. They'd built something stronger from the ruins, he and his children. Something true. At home later that night, Jack found both kids asleep. Max clutching his basketball, Ellie surrounded by robot sketches. He adjusted their blankets, just as he had on that night months ago when everything changed. But this time, there was no betrayal lurking in text messages. No lies hiding behind closed doors. Just the quiet peace of a family rebuilt on stronger foundations. Jack's final words to Nolan after the sentencing had been simple truth. She played with fire. I built the furnace, and from those flames, they'd forged something unbreakable. Cole Merritt woke at 4:45 a.m., 15 minutes before his alarm. He always did. 29 years in aerospace engineering had programmed his body to anticipate the day before it began. The house was quiet, too quiet for a home supposedly filled with family. Cole moved through the kitchen with practiced efficiency, assembling Juliana's lunch as he had for over 2 decades. Turkey on sourdough, no mayo, extra mustard, sliced apple on the side. She hadn't thanked him in years, but some habits were hard to break. Coffee machine humming, Cole leaned against the counter and stared out the window of their Pasadena home. Modern, spacious, and utterly lifeless. They'd purchased it 10 years ago after his promotion at Northrop. The mortgage was nearly paid off, but something else had been paid in full long before something he couldn't quite name yet. Is there more coffee? Juliana stood in the kitchen doorway, already dressed in her tailored pants and silk blouse. At 49, she maintained the figure and poise that had first attracted him decades ago. Her hair fell in perfect waves around her shoulders, not a strand out of place even at this hour. Fresh pot, Cole said, sliding a mug toward her. Lunch is in the fridge. She took the coffee without looking at him. I'm having lunch with clients today. Cole nodded, the carefully prepared sandwich already forgotten. Right. Cassidy's staying over again tonight, Juliana added, scrolling through her phone. Wedding planning. That's the 3rd time this week. It's her wedding, Cole. It requires attention. Juliana's tone was clipped, impatient. Not that you'd understand the importance. You'd probably have us get married at City Hall if we were doing it today. The barb landed exactly as intended. Their own wedding had been modest, all they could afford back then. Before he could respond, the sound of footsteps announced their daughter's arrival. Cassidy breezed into the kitchen, phone in hand, already mid-conversation with someone. No, I told you, the florist needs a 50% deposit by Friday. Well, that's not my problem, is it? Figure it out. She ended the call and grabbed Cole's coffee mug right from his hand. Morning to you too, Cole said. Cassidy didn't acknowledge him. Instead, she turned to Juliana. Mom, we need to finalize the seating chart today. Noah's family is being impossible about the tables. We'll sort it out, Juliana assured her, the warmth in her voice a stark contrast to how she'd addressed Cole moments before. Your father was just about to leave for work, weren't you, Cole? Cole checked his watch. He had 45 minutes before he needed to leave, but the dismissal was clear. I'll get my things. As he left the kitchen, he heard Cassidy's voice drop to a stage whisper. God, he's so boring, just standing there like a statue. Juliana's laugh followed him down the hall. He's always been that way, like living with a piece of furniture. Cole pretended not to hear as he gathered his briefcase. His phone buzzed with a notification that momentarily distracted him from their mockery. Alert. Purchase at Beverly Bridal, $6, 800. He frowned. A wedding dress charge on his credit card that he hadn't been told about. Not the amount, not the purchase, not even when they'd gone shopping. Just another thing happening in his own life that he wasn't privy to. Cole pocketed his phone and headed for the door. Neither woman looked up when he announced his departure. "They treat you like you're invisible," Rhea said, leaning against the doorframe of Cole's office. Her dark eyes were concerned beneath her practical bob cut. As the only other senior engineer who'd been at the company as long as Cole, she'd become his confidant by default. Cole looked up from his computer. "I'm overreacting. A $6,000 charge without even telling you? That's not overreacting." Rhea closed the door and took a seat. "Cole, how long have we known each other?" 15 years. And in 15 years, have I ever told you what you wanted to hear just to make you feel better?" Cole's mouth twitched upward. "Not even once." "Then believe me when I say this. People only push you off cliffs they know you won't jump from." She leaned forward. "You've made yourself too safe, too reliable. They know you'll never call them on their behavior." Cole rubbed his temples. "She's my wife. Cassidy's my daughter. And you're a human being, not an ATM with legs." After Rhea left, Cole stared at his computer screen, but the technical specs blurred before his eyes. On impulse, he opened his banking app and began scrolling through months of statements. The wedding dress was just the tip of the iceberg. Over the past year alone, there were dozens of unexplained withdrawals, charges to restaurants he'd never been to, hotel bills from weekends when Juliana had claimed to be visiting her sister. Some charges were in Cassidy's name, too expensive purchases that coincided with times she'd asked him for money for textbooks or car repairs. The screen swam before his eyes. This wasn't impulsive spending. This was systematic. And if the pattern extended further back, Cole dove deeper, accessing older statements. 5 years. 10 years. The betrayal appeared to stretch back so far that he couldn't see its beginning. The restaurant buzzed with excited chatter. Cassidy had chosen one of the trendiest spots in downtown LA for the wedding planning dinner, an exclusive place where the wait for reservations stretched months unless you knew someone. Apparently, Cassidy did. Cole sat at the far end of the table, watching as his daughter held court. She'd grown into a beautiful woman, with Juliana's sleek dark hair and confident posture. But where had she gotten that cold glint in her eye? That sharp tongue that cut people down without remorse? "Everyone should have a seating card at their place," Cassidy announced, moving around the table with an elegant box. "I hand-wrote them myself." Appreciative murmurs followed as she distributed the ornate cards. Noah, her fiancé, beamed proudly. A handsome guy with an easy smile that didn't quite reach his eyes when he looked at Cole. When Cassidy reached Cole's place, she placed a card down and moved on without a word. Cole turned it over. Cole Merritt. It read, and beneath it, +1 optional. The conversations around him didn't stop, but he felt several pairs of eyes flick toward him, then away. Noah's mother pressed her lips together, clearly uncomfortable. Juliana, seated across from him, took a sip of her wine, the slight curve of her lips visible above the rim of her glass. Cassidy, Noah's father said, too loudly, "I think there might be a mistake on Mr. Merritt's card." Cassidy looked over, her face a perfect mask of innocent confusion. "What? Oh!" She plucked the card from Cole's fingers. "Silly me. That was meant for someone else." But she didn't replace it with another. The moment stretched uncomfortably until Noah's mother changed the subject. The dinner proceeded, but Cole felt the humiliation like a physical weight on his chest. He excused himself as soon as it was polite to do so. Outside, in the cool night air, a hand caught his arm. "Cole, wait." It was Lori, his sister, who'd driven in from San Diego for the dinner. Her face was tight with anger. "You seeing what I'm seeing yet?" she demanded. "You've been living with two shadows, pretending to be people." "Lori, not now." "Yes, now." Her grip tightened. "I've watched them treat you like this for years, and you keep making excuses. That wasn't an accident in there. Your daughter just publicly humiliated you, and your wife enjoyed it." Cole stared at the traffic passing by. "What do you want me to do?" "Make a scene." "I want you to wake up," Lori said. "I want you to stop being everyone's doormat." Cole gently removed her hand from his arm. "I'll see you at home." Cole arrived home before the others. The house was dark and silent, a shell of expensive furniture and artwork that had never felt like a home. He went straight to his study and turned on his computer that a thought had been nagging at him since the dinner. Something Cassidy had said months ago when she thought he wasn't listening. Mom's iPad keeps syncing with Dad's old one in the study. Make sure you text on your phone instead. He opened the bottom drawer of his desk and pulled out the old iPad they bought years ago. He'd stopped using it, but never disconnected it from the family cloud account. It powered on with a soft glow. Notifications immediately began populating the screen. Messages, photos, calendar alerts, all Juliana's. He tapped on the messages first. His heart stopped. There, stretching back years, was a conversation thread between Juliana and someone named Victor Lennox. The most recent message had come through just hours ago. Victor, dinner looked tense. Everything okay? Juliana, fine. Cole has no idea. Never does. Cole scrolled upward through the history. Intimate messages. Explicit photos. Hotel bookings. Plans made and kept while he worked late or traveled for business. And worse messages that included Cassidy. Juliana, Cassidy can cover for me Friday. Cole thinks we're having mother-daughter time. Victor, smart girl, takes after her mother. Juliana, in every way that matters, his fingers trembling slightly. Cole opened the photos. There were hundreds spanning years. Juliana and Victor together. Intimate moments. Vacations he knew nothing about. Then he found the video. Cassidy, filming herself at what looked like a beach house. She turned the camera to show Victor in the background, raising a glass toward her. The real MVP, Cassidy's voice said, laughing. Cole sat in perfect stillness as the reality crashed down around him. The life he thought he had, the family he'd sacrificed everything for, was a fabrication. A cruel joke at his expense. With mechanical precision, he began downloading everything. Every message, every photo, every piece of evidence of a life that had been lived behind his back. His face betrayed nothing as the files transferred. There would be time for feelings later. Now was the time for facts. You're sure about this? Eli Tennyson asked, his voice low despite the privacy of the small bar where they Saturday. Cole nodded, sliding a USB drive across the table. After 3 weeks of silent investigation, he'd finally reached out to his childhood friend, now a paralegal at one of LA's most aggressive divorce firms. Everything's there. Bank statements, credit card records, messages, photos. 20 years of lies. Eli pocketed the drive. At 35, he was younger than Cole, but his eyes held the weariness of someone who'd seen too much of human nature's dark side in his profession. And you want to do what exactly? I want to know my options. Cole took a sip of his whiskey. Financial fraud, identity theft, she opened accounts in my name. And the affair. California's a no-fault state. I'm not talking about legal fault. I'm talking about truth. Cole's voice remained steady. For 20 years, I've lived a lie without knowing it. I want to understand exactly what happened before I decide what to do about it. Eli studied him. You've changed. The Cole I knew would have confronted them immediately. That Cole was a fool who trusted too easily. After meeting with Eli, Cole drove to a 24-hour gym he'd joined the week before. It was nearly empty at 10 p.m. He changed and headed for the weights, pushing himself through a punishing routine that left his muscles burning. Physical pain was clarifying. It occupied the space where emotional pain threatened to overwhelm him. A muscular man in his 60s nodded approvingly as Cole finished his final set. Good form. You new here. Just started. Divorce or midlife crisis. The man grinned at Cole's surprised expression. I've been a trainer for 30 years. I know the signs. Is it that obvious? Only to the trained eye. I'm Derek. He extended his hand. Cole shook it. Cole. Well, Cole, whatever you're going through, the iron doesn't lie. It's the same weight for everyone. For the first time in weeks, Cole felt something like peace. That's exactly what I need right now. Something that doesn't lie. The next morning, Cole stopped at a pharmacy on his way to work. He purchased a DNA testing kit, paying cash. That evening, he found one of Cassidy's hairbrushes in the guest bathroom, extracted several strands with the root intact, and carefully sealed them in the testing envelope. He had begun to suspect the truth. Now he needed confirmation. The brunch was Juliana's idea. A pre-wedding celebration, she'd called it, for family and close friends. It was being held at their home, catered by the same exclusive company that would handle the wedding reception. Cole made a point of accepting the invitation, then simply not showing up. Instead, he spent the morning with Rhea, helping her move furniture into her son's new apartment. Physical work. Honest work. Something tangible and real. Your phone's been buzzing, Rhea noted as they took a break, sitting on the steps with cold drinks. Cole checked it. 6 missed calls from Cassidy. 3 from Juliana. A dozen increasingly angry texts. 8 he scrolled through them. The phone rang again. Cassidy. Hello, he answered calmly. Where the hell are you? Her voice was shrill with rage. Everyone's here. Mom's humiliated. Noah's parents keep asking questions. Hope it was fun, Cole replied. I paid for the champagne. He ended the call and turned off his phone. Rhea raised an eyebrow. What was that about? Just setting some boundaries. Later that evening, Cole sat alone at a wine bar downtown, nursing a glass of Cabernet, when a woman stumbled slightly against his table. Whoa, sorry. She steadied herself, wine sloshing in her glass. These heels are death traps. No harm done, Cole replied, noticing her slightly unfocused gaze and flushed cheeks. She squinted at him. Wait, I know you. Merritt, right? Cassidy's dad. Cole straightened. And you are? Arden Nash, wedding planner. She gestured to the empty chair across from him. Mind if I sit? Been on my feet all day with your daughter's brunch. The one you missed. Against his better judgment, Cole nodded. Arden dropped into the chair with a sigh of relief. Rough day? He asked. You have no idea. That daughter of yours has specific tastes. She took a long sip of wine, though I guess she gets it from her mother. You've worked with Juliana before. God, for years. Your wife and her plus one said you'd be too polite to object smart of them to keep the affair hush for so long. Makes my job easier when there's no drama. She froze mid-sip, eyes widening as she realized what she'd revealed. I mean, Cole smiled slightly. It's fine, Arden. Have another drink. You look like you need it. Her face crumpled with guilt. Mr. Merritt, I'm so sorry. I thought you knew. They talk so openly when you're not around. I just assumed. Tell me more, Cole said, signaling the bartender for another round. By the time Arden stumbled into an Uber 2 hours later, Cole had learned more than he ever wanted to know about the public face of his wife's affair. The weekend trips, the business meetings where Victor would join them, how Cassidy had gradually been brought into the inner circle, first as an unwitting alibi, then as an active accomplice. The worst part, Arden had slurred, is they laugh about it, like it's some big joke. I've planned a lot of weddings, Mr. Merritt. Seen a lot of messed up families. But the way they talk about you. She trailed off, unable to finish. Cole went home, feeling strangely light. The trap was baiting itself. The envelope arrived by expedited mail exactly 10 days after Cole had sent the DNA sample. He took it into his study and closed the door before carefully opening it. The results were clinical, impersonal. A series of genetic markers and percentages that boiled down to one inescapable conclusion. Cassidy Merritt was not his biological child. He stared at the paper, waiting for the pain to hit him. It didn't. Perhaps he'd already known, deep down. Perhaps he'd reached his capacity for betrayal. Or perhaps the girl he'd raised for 26 years would always be his daughter, regardless of blood. But she had chosen her side. And it wasn't that he added the results to his growing file of evidence and locked it in his desk drawer. That evening, he met Rhea for their now regular dinner, a habit they'd fallen into over the past few weeks. You're quieter than usual, she observed as they shared a plate of pasta. Something happened. I got the DNA results. Rhea's fork paused halfway to her mouth. And she's not mine. Biologically. She set her fork down and reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. I'm sorry, Cole. Don't be. It just confirms what I already knew. So what now? When are you going to confront them? Cole took a sip of his water. You don't light a match until the room is soaked in gasoline. Rhea studied him. That doesn't sound like the Cole Merritt I know. The Cole Merritt you knew was a fantasy. A convenient fiction created by a man who couldn't face the truth. He met her gaze directly. I'm done with fiction. Just be careful, she warned. Revenge has a way of burning the person who seeks it. It's not revenge, Cole corrected her. "It's justice." In the weeks that followed, Cole maintained an outward calm that unnerved Juliana and Cassidy. He came home at regular hours. He attended to household matters. He even contributed to wedding conversations when asked directly. But he was preparing. With Eli's help, he began transferring assets into accounts only he could access. He found an apartment and paid 6 months' rent in advance. He arranged for discreet surveillance of Juliana and Victor, building a timeline of their meetings and activities, and he made an appointment with one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in Los Angeles, one who specialized in cases involving financial fraud and infidelity. "We need to talk about the wedding," Juliana said, cornering Cole in the kitchen one evening. Her tone was all business, as if addressing a subordinate. "What about it?" Cole continued making his sandwich, not looking up. "I think it would be best if you didn't attend." That made him pause. "You want me to skip our daughter's wedding?" "It's not about what I want." Juliana crossed her arms. "Cassidy is stressed about the seating arrangements. Your presence complicates things. Because you'll be out of place." Her voice hardened. "Noah's family is very traditional. They expect a certain kind of cohesion, and I disrupt the perfect family picture." Cole nodded slowly. "What does Cassidy say about this?" "She agrees with me." As if on cue, Cassidy walked into the kitchen. "Agrees with what?" "That your father shouldn't attend the wedding." Cassidy didn't even pretend to be conflicted. "It makes sense, Dad. You just sit there being awkward. Plus, the venue is expensive per head." Cole studied his daughter's face, the face he'd loved unconditionally for 26 years, regardless of whose genes she carried. The coldness in her eyes was foreign to him. Had it always been there, and he just refused to see it? "I understand," he said finally, "if that's what you both want." Relief flashed across their faces, quickly replaced by smugness. "We can tell people you're ill or traveling for work," Juliana continued, already planning the cover story. "No need for excuses," Cole replied. "Just tell them I wasn't invited." Later that week, Cole met Lori for lunch. His sister was the only blood family he had left, and the only person who had consistently seen through Juliana's facade over the years. "They've uninvited me to the wedding," he told her after they'd ordered. Lori's face darkened with anger. "Those manipulative." "Don't," Cole interrupted. "It's actually perfect. How is being excluded from your own daughter's wedding perfect?" Cole leaned forward. "Because now I can plan my entrance on my terms." He lowered his voice. "I've hired a videographer for the reception. He's creating a special montage that will play during the dinner." Understanding dawned in Lori's eyes. "Cole, what are you going to do?" "Let them decorate the altar with lies," he replied. "I'll bring the truth to the party." The Biltmore Hotel glittered with elegance on the day of Cassidy's wedding. Flower arrangements towered over guests as they filtered into the grand ballroom. A string quartet played softly in the corner. Every detail was perfect, just as Cassidy had demanded. Cole adjusted his tie as he waited outside the main entrance. He'd chosen a classic black suit, simple, understated, devastating in its perfection. A small USB drive weighed heavily in his pocket. As guests filed past, many did double takes at his presence. Some nodded awkwardly. Others pretended not to see him. Cole acknowledged each reaction with a calm smile. "Mr. Merritt." A nervous-looking young man in a staff uniform approached. "I don't see your name on the guest list." "That's because I'm not a guest," Cole replied. "I'm the father of the bride." The young man's eyes widened. "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Please go right in." The ceremony was already underway when Cole slipped into the back of the room. He stood against the wall, observing the performance before him. Cassidy looked beautiful in her gown, the one he'd paid for without being told. Noah looked handsome and nervous at the altar. Juliana sat in the front row, elegant in deep blue. She didn't look back, but the sudden stiffness in her shoulders told Cole she knew he was there. The vows were exchanged. Rings are placed on fingers. Promises were made that Cole knew firsthand how easily could be broken as the newlyweds processed out. Cassidy's eyes met his for a brief moment. Shock flashed across her face, followed by anger. Cole nodded slightly, his expression giving nothing away. The reception began with cocktails in an adjoining room. Cole kept to himself, nursing a single scotch as he watched the social dynamics unfold. Juliana worked the room like the skilled manipulator she was, accepting congratulations and playing the proud mother of the bride. When it was time for dinner, Cole found his place card on a side table with the overflow guests. It read, Cole Merritt, +1 optional. He placed it prominently at an empty seat at the main family table, then took his position at a small table near the back, alongside distant relatives and colleagues who looked uncomfortable with his presence. During the toasts, Noah's father stood and raised his glass. To the bride and groom, and to their families. Especially to Cole. He nodded toward Cole's table, who seems like the real backbone here. To many happy years ahead. Murmurs rippled through the room. Juliana quickly rose for her own toast, glass in hand. Thank you all for coming to celebrate Cassidy and Noah, she began, her voice honeyed with practiced charm. As a mother, there's nothing more fulfilling than seeing your child find happiness with someone who truly values them. Her eyes flicked to Cole. Hope you don't mind standing, Cole. You are never great at showing up. Uncomfortable laughter scattered through the room. Cole merely smiled and raised his glass in acknowledgement. The trap was set. All that remained was to spring it. The reception was in full swing. Dinner plates had been cleared, and the cake was being prepared for cutting. Cole caught the eye of the DJ and gave a slight nod. Ladies and gentlemen, the DJ announced, before we move on to the cake, we have a special video montage prepared by the father of the bride. Let's dim the lights and enjoy this tribute. The large screen at the front of the room flickered to life. It began innocently enough baby pictures of Cassidy, family holidays, school events. Cole watched Juliana's face relax slightly at the conventional opening. Then the tone shifted. A text message appeared on screen. Juliana, he's away this weekend. Meet me at the usual place. Another followed. Victor, can't wait. Does he suspect anything? Juliana. Cole? Please. He's too busy providing to notice. Gasps echoed through the room. Cassidy stood abruptly, her face pale. Turn it off. But the video continued relentlessly. Bank statements showing withdrawals and hotels. Photos of Juliana and Victor together at restaurants, on vacations, in intimate settings. Screenshots of conversations spanning years. Then came the DNA test results, displayed in stark black and white. A murmur swept through the crowd as the implications became clear. The final slide appeared. You lied, you betrayed, you stole. But today I give you the gift of honesty. Cole Merritt, not your father. The screen went dark. For a moment, complete silence filled the room. Then chaos erupted. Noah turned to Cassidy, his face twisted with shock and betrayal. What the hell is this? You knew about your mother's affair? Cassidy was frantically looking between Noah and her mother. I can explain. Noah's father stood up, his face flushed with anger. Who the hell is Victor Lennox? As if summoned by the name, a tall, distinguished man in his 50s rose from a table near the front. Victor himself, invited as a family friend. Noah lunged across the table, his fist connecting with Victor's jaw with a sickening crack. Security guards rushed forward. Women screamed. The perfect wedding dissolved into pandemonium. Through it all, Cole remained seated, watching the truth he'd lived with for months finally become everyone else's reality too. Noah's family stormed out, taking half the guests with them. The remaining attendees huddled in shocked groups, whispering frantically. Arden, the wedding planner, sat in a corner, openly weeping into a napkin. Cassidy stood in the center of the room, mascara streaking down her face as she screamed at Juliana. You told me he would never find out. You promised me. Lower your voice, Juliana hissed, gripping her daughter's arm. We can fix this. Fix this? Fix this. Cassidy's voice rose hysterically. My wedding is ruined. Noah won't even look at me. His family thinks I'm trash. Cole moved toward the exit, his mission accomplished. He felt no joy, no triumph, only the quiet certainty that justice had been served. Juliana intercepted him before he reached the door, her face contorted with fury. You miserable, pathetic excuse for a man. You think this changes anything? You think anyone respects what you just did? Cole looked at her, really looked at her, for perhaps the first time in years. The beautiful face that had once seemed so full of love now appeared hollow. the features of a stranger. "This wasn't for them," he said quietly. "It was for me. You'll regret this," she spat. "I'll make sure of it." A smile touched Cole's lips. "I already did. That's why I'm done." He walked past her, out into the cool evening air. Behind him, the ruins of a wedding. Ahead, uncertainty, but at least it would be built on truth. The next morning, Juliana was served with divorce papers at the hotel where she'd spent the night. The documents detailed financial fraud, identity theft, and years of documented infidelity. A court order froze their joint accounts pending investigation. Simultaneously, Cole's attorney filed amendments to his will, removing Cassidy as a beneficiary. The trust fund he'd established for her future children remained, but under conditions that left her no direct access to the money. Cole moved into his new apartment that same day, with Lori's help. The space was modest but clean, with large windows that let in natural light. It contained only what he needed, no excess, no pretense. "You doing okay?" Lori asked as they unpacked the last box. "Better than I have in years," Cole replied, and meant it. His phone had been buzzing all day with calls and texts from Cassidy. He finally silenced it without reading any of the messages. Whatever she had to say, it was too late. Around noon, Rhea arrived with takeout. "I figured you might need lunch," she said, setting the bags on his new kitchen counter. "And company." "Thanks." Cole found plates in a half-unpacked box. News travels fast, like wildfire. Victor Lennox's wife showed up at your house this morning. Apparently, you didn't know either. Cole shook his head. "Collateral damage. I'm not proud of that part." "She deserved the truth as much as you did," Rhea pointed out. Everyone did. In the days that followed, Cole established new routines. He went to work. He exercised at his new gym. He had dinner with Rhea twice a week. He spoke with his attorney about the divorce proceedings. He ignored the increasingly desperate messages from Juliana and Cassidy. Their problems were no longer his to solve. One evening, his doorbell rang unexpectedly. Cole opened it to find Cassidy standing there, her face drawn and pale. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice small. Cole studied her for a long moment. "No." Her eyes widened. "Dad, please. I need to explain." "There's nothing to explain, Cassidy." His voice remained calm. "You made your choices. For years. So did I." "She manipulated me," Cassidy insisted, tears welling in her eyes. "Mom made me think." "Stop." Cole held up his hand. "You're an adult. You knew what you were doing. Every time you covered for her. Every time you mocked me. Every time you asked for money while laughing behind my back." A tear slipped down her cheek. "What about Noah? His family won't even speak to me. The wedding's been annulled. That's between you and Noah. Where am I supposed to go? Mom's a mess. The house is no longer my concern." Cole finished for her. "Neither are you. Goodbye, Cassidy." He closed the door gently but firmly, then leaned against it, listening to her sob on the other side. Eventually, her footsteps retreated down the hallway. Cole returned to his armchair and picked up his book. The pain was there, deep and real, but it no longer controlled him. Juliana tried playing victim in public, giving tearful interviews about her mentally unstable husband who had humiliated her family. But the video had gone viral within the wedding industry. Too many people had seen the evidence. Her social standing, built on carefully cultivated lies, crumbled beneath the weight of truth. 1 year later, Cole stood at a podium in a convention center ballroom, delivering the keynote address at an aerospace engineering conference. His presentation on innovative materials for spacecraft had drawn a standing-room-only crowd. As he concluded his technical remarks, he allowed himself a brief personal reflection. "Engineering teaches us to respect structural integrity," he told the audience. "A building with a compromised foundation will eventually collapse, no matter how beautiful its facade. The same is true in life." He paused, scanning the crowd. In the third row, Rhea watched him with quiet pride. "Some things break quietly," Cole continued. "Over years, not moments. But when you rebuild, you do it with steel, not forgiveness. You build something that will last because it's honest, even if it's simpler than what came before." Applause filled the room as he stepped away from the microphone. Colleagues surged forward to shake his hand and discuss his presentation. Cole engaged with each of them, present and focused in a way he never could have been when living a lie. Later, as he and Ria walked to dinner, they passed a wedding venue where a young couple posed for photos on the steps. The bride was laughing, her head thrown back in genuine joy, while the groom looked at her with unguarded adoration. Cole paused briefly, watching them, not with envy or bitterness, but with the clarity of someone who understood both the promise and the peril of such moments. Happy? Ria asked, following his gaze. Content, Cole replied. It's better. He smiled slightly, not at what he had lost, but at what he had found. Then he turned and walked on, stepping firmly into a future of his own making.